10 millimeter, does it rival 44 Magnum? You hear this a lot that it does, and people will say not only does the power rival 44 Magnum with 10 millimeter, but you get a lot more shots. Like you get 15 shots in a Glock, like this particular Glock here. By the way, this is a conversion. It is a 45 ACP, so sometimes I get a little bit of malfunction issues, so you can't take that at face value. I'm just doing ballistic testing here with the rounds of ammunition, but you hear it all the time that it has as much power as 44 Magnum, rivals it. But really what you have to look at is you have to look at kind of average rounds. And the reason why I picked these is they are kind of average as far as power level, and they are pure copper. And this 10 millimeter is a 155 grain rated at 1350 feet per second, 627 foot-pounds energy. That's honestly what a 10 millimeter should be at, because in my experience, when you start going higher in power, you start getting a lot of issues, even in normal pistols that are not conversions, because they just cannot handle that amount of power. As where a 44 Magnum, nice steel revolver, they are meant to handle this power. So what we have here for the 44 Magnum is 200 grain. It happens to be rated at 1500 feet per second or 999 foot-pounds. By the way, the barrel travel of the bullet nose is about the same between the two of these. If we look at where the bullet nose would end right there versus where it is here, you know, it's a lot similar. So even though this particular pistol, 10 millimeter pistol, has a quote-unquote longer barrel, the revolver's got, you know, a good 1/4 inch extra barrel travel. So we're going to go through the chronograph, see what kind of velocity and accuracy we get at the same time. And then as always, we're going to go through the Juggernaut box, which contains our ballistic baloney pack, which basically this is 1 3/4 inches of baloney covered by 4 layers of denim, followed by 1/4 inch medium density fiberboard. And what I'm trying to do here is represent a pectoral muscle, followed by ribs or sternum, and into water jugs. And typically how it compares to ballistic shells out the back of jug 1, it's about 9 inches, jug 2, 12 inches, jug 3, 15 inches, and so forth. So let's get started with the test and see if 10 millimeter really does rival 44 Magnum. And I'm also going to do a wood penetration test. We have 4 2x4s here, just standard 2x4s, and we'll see how the 10 millimeter compares to the 44 Magnum in hitting a very hard barrier, a very dense, thick barrier like this. All right, first up I have the 10 millimeter. Is rated at 1350 feet per second. I'm about 5 yards from the target, about 4 yards from the chronograph. We'll see how close we get to 1350. $14.68. 14.29. 14.36. 14.35. 14.26. And see, this is what I was talking about. Now this happens to be a conversion, but sometimes we see stuff like this happen with these really high powered rounds that I don't see happen with any other cartridges like 45 or 9 millimeter. So let's try the 44 Mag, see how that compares. All right, 44 Magnum. We'll see how this 200 grain compares. 1509. 1527. 1522. 1538. 1507. So a lot more powerful. Definitely less comfortable to shoot, but the whole point here is a lot of people are saying 10 millimeter versus 44 versus some dangerous animal. I think at that moment, the tiny amount of pain you might feel in your hand from recoil really is pretty insignificant compared to the job at hand. So let's hit the ballistic box and see how these two compare to each other. All right, 10 millimeter auto. We'll see how this does. That is a lot of damage. All right, so this baloney pack was about 3 feet behind me. It totally went way behind me. It completely destroyed this thing. Our first jug is some of the worst damage I've ever seen with my ballistic testing. So when I say it doesn't necessarily compare to the 44 Magnum, I'm not saying the 10 millimeter is ineffective. I'm just saying that the 44 is a little more powerful. So let's see what we got in the rest of these water jugs. And I found the fiberboard is actually in front of the box about 3 feet. So I don't know how that happened. Pretty good damage. This definitely indicates expansion before it hit that water jug. So let's see what we got. All right, jug 2. Impact is a little bit low. There's some denim pieces in there. Jug 3. Our impact was low as well. We have a dent out the back, so that's only going to be 15 inches comparison to ballistics gel, which is perfect. It's not over penetrating. Here is our bullet. One pedal's kind of bent down, but I think it kind of touched the bottom of the box a little bit. But overall, it did very, very well. Let's see how the 44 compares. 44 Magnum. I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to do this because I don't want to get splashed with a lot of water, but we're going to find out what this 44 Magnum will do. Here we go. And that's why I do that a lot. Some people think that it's I can't handle recoil. No, I see it coming. I see that that water splash coming. I put my hands up to kind of protect my face. So let's see what we got. All right, there's very little of this left, and there's actually pieces of fiberboard fragments with the bologna. Big mess here. Let's see what we got in water jugs, if I can find that fiberboard. All right, just like the 10 millimeter, this board went forward, and it took a corner out of it, even though it impacted right here. It looks like the expansion hitting that fiberboard is about the same as what the 10 millimeter was. So let's see what we got in water jugs. All right, so our first jug is definitely more damaged than the 10 millimeter. That's the worst I've seen. I think that's the most powerful round I've put through this box so far, so no surprise there. The second jug is totally different than the 10 millimeter. 10 millimeter second jug just had a hole. This looks almost as big a damage as the 10 millimeter on the first jug, but on the second jug. Impact on 3. We went through 3. There's a little dent on 5. That is going to indicate 18 inches comparison to ballistics gel. And we have really good expansion, just like that 10 millimeter. These Barnes bullets, solid copper bullets, do really, really well. They're kind of pre-segmented to expand perfectly every time. So very, very good. Now let's hit the wood pack and see how that compares. All right, 10 millimeter, 4 2x4s. Let's see what happens. We hit water. And again, this is one of those things I'm seeing when we get into really powerful rounds with this polymer pistol, even in 45, and another stovepipe thing here. Just interesting how extra powerful rounds kind of don't function the way normal, like 9 millimeter does. So a lot of damage. So obviously we went right through this. We impacted right here, and it looks like it drifted just a little bit, maybe a half an inch up, and it came out. Here's our first jug. The bullet is in the second jug here, so perfect amount of jugs to have up there. That was random chance. And this is really kind of cool because it clogged with that wood and it made it go straight through. So there might be an application for something like that, a round like this, I suppose, where it really wants to expand when it hits flesh, but not when it hits something hard. Let's see how that 44 compares. All right, 44 mag. Let's see if we can go through this wood and stop in jug 2 the way the 10 millimeter did. Definitely leaking. All right, this impacted kind of center, but it drifted a little bit to the left here and came out. Took a big old chunk out of the first jug here, and because it drifted, it went around. It went around the second jug. It probably would have went in it if it was a straight through shot. So it's definitely pretty interesting that it impacted like that, went to the side a little bit. I'm guessing we have similar, maybe a little bit more penetration. We might have went through the second jug if we would have hit it with the 44. But I have one more test. I have my steel tank out there. I'm going to shoot from 50 yards and just kind of see what kind of oomph these rounds have at that range. And before I do that, looking behind the target here, this is after I was shooting it with the 44. It just completely blew the earth apart. I normally don't get that. So that 44 is pretty devastating. All right, 50 yards with the 10 millimeter. 5 rounds, 10 millimeter, 5 rounds, 44. We'll see what kind of oomph these rounds have at that range. Pulled it a little bit left. That was on me. A little bit of a hang up there. If I hit it, I really can't tell. Let's try the 44. And to me, that 10 millimeter is kind of painful to shoot because the polymer kind of slides back and forth and the front grooves slam into the front of my hand. As we're with this nice revolver grip, it's rubber. I don't really have that issue. But we'll see if I can hit with this. All right, I'm pulling a little bit to the left. Let me try a few more with each. I want to get a really good fair chance here with both of these. All right, I'll try a few more. Let's do about 3 more. And then I got plans for the last rounds that I have of these. All right, try the 44. 44 mag. I'll try to shoot best I can. Perfect for that last shot. One more quick little test. I also do a little bit of practical accuracy. If you had to shoot these in self-defense, could you actually hit the target? Because they both got a lot of recoil. All right, 7 yards from the target. We have 4 rounds. I'll pull out to see what I can do. And keep in mind, this pistol is a conversion, so if I get malfunction issues, we're just going to throw that out because any normal stock Glock would not have quite the issues this would have. But just for fun, let's see what I can do. All right, looks like I blessed them. Let's try the 44. All right, 44 Magnum. Cartridge that everybody tells you can't get follow-up shots. I will have to slow down a little bit with these follow-up shots because they are full house Magnums, but we'll see what I can realistically do. So here we go. All right. A little bit low, a little bit to the left for me, but you know, it can definitely be done. So that's what you get today, 10 millimeter versus 44 Magnum. Are they really comparable? Are they really? And my answer would be no. That's not to say that a 10 millimeter isn't good. That's not to say that you can't get some reliable 10 millimeters. But in my experience, even with stock polymer pistols, once you start going up in power, they get a little bit questionable. Even when that particular Glock I have in 45, once I go up to 45 plus P, you start to feel things that aren't quite normal. You feel kind of twisting of that polymer. You can kind of feel that magazine rattling in strange ways. So that would be my caution. Is a Glock 20 or something like that necessarily great? I don't know. Definitely not for me. For me, it makes more sense to get a revolver. Yeah, I get less shots. But even, you know, an $800 revolver, like a good quality one, we don't have to really worry about testing ammo, see if it's reliable, if it functions, all of that. And we have a lot of power. So if you can place those shots, which I think pretty much anybody could with a little bit of practice, I think it's going to be a pretty effective weapon and probably a little more reliable than a semi-auto. So that's what you get today. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.